He watched her as she leaned against the doorway, shoulders slumped, eyes hollow. The late afternoon sun slanted through the windows of the study, illuminating the faint purplish bruises along her cheekbone, the darkened shades at her collarbone just visible beneath her crisp uniform. His breath caught. "Are you all right?" he asked softly, stepping forward. She glanced up, startled, smooth brown eyes wide with fear and something deeper shame. She swallowed, voice barely above a whisper. "Yes, sir." But he knew it wasn't true. He closed the distance slowly, hands raised in reassurance. "You don't have to work today. Sit down, tell me what happened." Her uniform shifted as she sat, the edge of her skirt grazing one bruised wrist. He knelt beside her, heart pounding. She stared at her trembling hands. For a long moment, silence stretched between them. Then, in a voice so quiet, he nearly missed it. He gets angry sometimes." "Who?" "My brother." He recalled she'd said she lived with her older brother, that he'd lost his job, that she helped supplement the household. Every detail now clarified. He reached out, gently touched her wrist. The flesh underneath was tender and deeply discolored. She jerked back. He recoiled inwardly. This was worse than he'd feared. "I understand you need me to help," he said, voice firm but gentle. "I promise I will." He stood and signaled to the chauffeur, who'd lingered in the hall. "Call the police," he said steadily. "Tell them I have evidence of assault. I want officers here within the hour." Her breath hitched. "No, please, sir, don't." But he was already moving, striding to his desk phone. His world narrowed to one mission: protect her. He never anticipated that extending her a simple offer of a day off would uncover a nightmare. But as calls were made to trusted counsel, to the local precinct, the reality of her situation came crashing down. By the time the first officers arrived, uniformed men and women stood in the foyer, badges gleaming. He guided her to sit on the settee, draping a blanket across her shoulders. She trembled, gaze fixed on the carpet. Detective Alvarez introduced himself kindly. "Ma'am, can you tell us what happened?" She looked up at him, terror in her eyes. "I can't. He'll find me." "He won't," the millionaire said, stepping forward. "We've taken steps to ensure your safety." The detective nodded, pulling out a notepad. He turned to her. "Your brother? He's at home?" She nodded double quotes. "Do you feel safe speaking here?" She swallowed. "Yes." One by one, she recounted the beatings, the threats, the fear that had driven her to take this job, hoping to build a future away from him. The first blow 5 months ago, then more frequent until she could barely hide them beneath makeup and high collars. Each bruise she thought invisible had betrayed her secret. Alvarez's pen moved. Bruise right cheek, bruise left wrist, bruise right forearm, assault with fist, threats of violence. When she finished, her voice hoarse, the detective looked to the millionaire. "We'll get her to a safe place. We'll take her statement officially, get photos of the injuries, and we'll go to her home to apprehend her brother." He nodded. "Thank you." Her lips trembled. "Thank you, sir." He offered a gentle nod. She spent the night in protective custody with the police. Statements taken, photographs documented. He monitored every call, every development, ensuring the officers had everything they needed. He arranged for an advocate from a local women's shelter to meet her, and for temporary housing until she decided her next steps. At dawn, he received a call. Her brother had been arrested without incident and charged with domestic assault. His bail hearing set for next week. The district attorney was moving forward with protective orders and a restraining order on her behalf, not alone in his office. He allowed himself a moment to breathe, then picked up the phone. "Have the shelter. Arrange transport to my estate in the country," he told his assistant. "She'll be safe there until she's ready to move on." "Yes, sir." He sat back, thoughts racing. He'd hired her 6 months ago, quiet, diligent, loyal. He'd never imagined she carried such a burden. That afternoon, she arrived at the estate. The sprawling grounds, the serene lake, the hidden guest cottage, it was a world away from fear. He met her at the door, carrying a tray of tea and biscuits. "This is your new home, for as long as you need," he said. She whispered, "I don't know how to thank you." He managed a gentle smile. "Just focus on you now." Trembling, she took a cup. Weeks passed. She settled into a routine. Walks by the lake, afternoons spent reading in the sunroom, evenings helping cook dinner in the main house. He checked in often, but gave her space. Trust had to be rebuilt, not just in the world, but in herself. One evening, she approached him as he reviewed documents in his study. "Mr. Bennett?" He looked up tall, silver-haired, always composed. "I thank you for saving me." He set aside his papers. "You didn't need saving. You needed someone to listen and act." Tears shimmered in her eyes. "I never thought I deserved that." He offered his hand. "You do." She placed her hand in his, hesitating only a moment before she leaned forward and hugged him. He realized then that her gratitude ran deeper than words. This was a generosity of spirit he'd rarely witnessed. New life stirred within her. She began attending classes at a nearby community college business management, something she dreamed of before her burdens became too great. He arranged a scholarship in her name and set up mentorship sessions with executives in his firm. Eventually, a job offer came from one of those executives, a paid internship that could turn into a management position. She accepted, eyes shining with hope. On her last day at the estate, before moving into a small apartment he'd arranged in the city, he walked her to her car. She paused, keys in hand. "I'll always be grateful, Mr. Bennett." He shook his head. "Call me James." She smiled. James. They shared a moment, two people from different worlds, bound by respect and something stronger, the knowledge that kindness and courage could transform lives. He watched her drive away, heart swelling. He knew it wasn't just her life he'd changed, it was his own. Because in helping her escape darkness, he discovered a light he'd forgotten existed. And as he closed the gate behind her, he whispered, "Take care of yourself." She did that, and so did he.